Hey guys, Jim here with another video for you. This is the fourth installment in my 50 years of film. This is highlighting the year 1977. Before we begin, if you like this content, you like my channel, please give me a like, a possible subscribe, and most important of all, please leave feedback in the comments below, whether it's positive, negative. I really appreciate hearing from everybody because it will help me provide content that you enjoy and improve the quality of my videos. So, as usual, before we begin, I just want to throw out there that, as usual, I do not own every movie from 1977, far from it. But I do own a pretty good selection of titles. And 1977 was a very important year in cinema. Everybody knows the big movie that came out that year. It changed cinema forever. So we're just going to get it out of the way and hit that one right away. It's the one that everybody's expecting. We're talking about Pete's Dragon. No, I'm just kidding. Pete's Dragon did come out in 1977, but that's my really bad attempt at humor. So we're talking, of course, about Star Wars. People will call it Episode 4, A New Hope. To people my age, it's simply Star Wars. This movie changed cinema forever. It changed me forever as a 10-year-old. I must have seen this movie a dozen times theatrically. And it played theatrically for over 2 years. Think about that now. This movie played in cinemas in America for 2 years straight. Then it came back right before Empire Strikes Back came out in 1980, and they re-released it a second time. Star Wars, there's nothing more to be said. Okay, now we're going to go back to the format that we normally do. We're going to jump around in genre. We're going to start off with some comedies from my Mel Brooks collection. And it's upside down, pardon me. We're talking about High Anxiety. There's the plot synopsis if you'd like to pause and check that out. This is a Alfred Hitchcock spoof. It is extremely silly. It's extremely funny. I love High Anxiety. Next, from the Oh God collection, the first film, Oh God. Before Morgan Freeman, there was George Burns. And the original Oh God is a wonderful movie. It still holds up all these years later. I'm not religious. This movie doesn't pound you over the head with it. It's just a really, really great movie. And R.I.P. George Burns and John Denver. So we go from sweet and wholesome comedy to raunchy as all get out. The Kentucky Fried Movie is unbelievably politically incorrect, raunchy in every single way, shape, or form, directed by John Landis and written by the Zaz team that created Airplane, The Naked Gun, Top Secret, and so many others. I absolutely love this movie. I included this on one of my 5 forgotten films to check out. It's just a random set of skits, but it is absolutely hysterical. And rounding out the comedies is one of my favorite comedies of all time, Slapshot. This is the Shout Factory Steelbook. This was directed by George Roy Hill, who also directed Paul Newman in The Sting and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I absolutely love Slapshot. It's one of the funniest movies ever made. Now we're going to get into some suspense, drama, action, whatever you want to call it. We're going to switch over to James Bond. If I can open this. And since we're talking about 1977, we're talking about The Spy Who Loved Me. There's Roger Morgan in all of his glory, with the beautiful Barbara Bach and Fighting Richard Kiel as Jaws. I absolutely love this movie. It's got the iconic theme song from Carly Simon. And yeah, outside of Casino Royale, The Spy Who Loved Me is my favorite Bond film ever. I love it. Next, some good old grindhouse exploitation for you. Rolling Thunder. With William Devane and Tommy Lee Jones. Quentin Tarantino absolutely loves this movie. He talks about it all the time on his podcast. It's a good old revenge thriller. And yeah, Rolling Thunder's awesome. But this movie right here is a masterpiece. William Friedkin's Sorcerer with Roy Scheider. This movie was a huge flop when it came out. Mainly because it came out right after Star Wars came out, and Star Wars destroyed everything in its wake. Not to mention that it also has a very unfortunate title of Sorcerer. People thought that this was a wizard movie. This is one of the greatest suspense movies of all time. I would include this on my 5 underloved films, but this movie is loved. It's just hasn't been seen enough. If you've never seen Sorcerer, do yourself a favor. Check this movie out immediately. It is slow at the beginning, but my God, it has some of the most intense scenes you will ever see in a movie. It's a remake of The Wages of Fear. This is a great movie. Please check it out. Speaking of great movies, because now we're going into the science fiction realm, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Star Wars started my fascination with science fiction that year. Made me think of different galaxies of how things could be. Close Encounters made everything real to me. I'll never forget seeing this movie theatrically. It wrecked me. I could not believe it. Every time I would see a shining light for the next 2 months outside at night, I was convinced it was a UFO coming to get me. I love Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But these next 2 are horrible. Damnation Alley. I've covered this on the Why Do I Own These Movies, and I still ask myself that. This was supposed to be the bigger hit that year for Fox over Star Wars. They were completely wrong. This movie is hot garbage. This one is hot steaming garbage. The Incredible Melting Man. The only reason why I did not include this one on that other video is because the effects by Rick Baker still hold up. As you can see right there. This is a very goopy movie. It's the best way to describe it. It's not good, but the effects are. Okay, the rest of these are horror films. First, we get one of the best Jaws ripoffs of all time, Orca the Killer Whale. Richard Harris, Charlotte Rampling, Will Sampson, and Bo Derek in her film debut. This is a cross between Jaws and Moby Dick. The ending is kind of ridiculous. I don't care. I absolutely love this movie and always will. There's another great Jaws ripoff for you, The Car. This one is included in my Guilty Pleasure video. I've already discussed in depth why I love this movie so much, so I don't really need to go into it here, other than to stress the fact that this movie is absolutely awesome. If you like cheesy movies, do not expect a masterpiece like Star Wars or Close Encounters. Next, we have the Wes Craven classic, The Hills Have Eyes. Michael Berryman, Dee Wallace, 2 awesome German Shepherds. Not my favorite Wes Craven movie. Anybody who's seen my ranking video will know that, but still, solid movie. And it's a classic. Next, The Sentinel. This is a kind of a cross between a ghost story and a demon or devil cult type thing. Kind of a slow burn. Not the best movie of all time, not the worst, but it's definitely got some very, very memorable scenes in it. I remember seeing this when I was in puberty, and yeah, it was one of my favorite movies back then for sure. And last and not least, we have David Cronenberg's Rabid. This was his follow-up to Shivers. Stars the late great Marilyn Chambers, who at this point was a adult film actress. And it's a solid movie. It's also been remade. I have not seen the remake, so I couldn't tell you if it's any good or not, but that's Rabid. So that is wrapping up 1977. Again, I do have more films from this year, like Smokey and the Bandit, on DVD. They just weren't included on this video, but that's 1977, which was a pretty incredible year in movies as far as I'm concerned. 1978 is just as good. So we'll see you in a couple of days with that one. Have a great night, guys.